What's up, guys? It's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. This is a new setup, maybe temporary. I'm trying to figure out a more comfortable setup because in my old setup, I was basically sitting on the floor and it was incredibly uncomfortable. I'd be kind of like rushing through videos just because I was hurting. So anyway, so this is my Grandma Stola Rosea, Miss Spidey, who you guys can't really see. She is, oh my goodness, I've had Spidey for like 10 years. But anyway, this is the star of the show. And today I wanted to make a little video because about a pet that some of you guys who have been with me for a while on this channel was a big part of this channel originally. So you may notice that I am wearing my, hold on, a sweatshirt that says Eva. My sister made this for me after Eva passed away. Eva is the jealous cat, and she was my beautiful, almost 20-year-old princess, and she passed about a year ago, and it's been a really hard year, and I wanted to just make a video about you know, how I'm doing, because I know that even though this is a tarantula channel, I find that tarantula owners usually have a bunch of different pets, and it's because like we are in general animal lovers or creature lovers, and so I think talking about pet grief is really normal and we should talk about it more, grief in general. I am a therapist in the day-to-day world, and the amount of guilt or sadness or confusion that people experience when they're losing a pet, it's almost like they feel bad for maybe grieving over their pet, possibly more than they've grieved over a human in their life. And so I wanted to kind of normalize that. Our pet relationships are usually very, very pure and just uncomplicated. And a lot of times our pets have seen us through some really, really hard stuff that, you know, maybe nobody else could have been there for us. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the last year and how I've been doing since Eva passed. It was probably one of the most difficult years of my life. Eva, because she was, you know, just shy of 20 years, I had so much time with her. She was like my first pet, my first baby. I was very emotionally attached to her. I was obsessed with her. I would like to believe that she was a little bit obsessed with me. And it just felt like we had this really beautiful bond, and that I could go through any challenge as long as she was there. You know, it was just like, I think after she passed, I realized just how much emotional support she was actually giving me. Because it was the first year where I actually had to go through some really, really difficult things, and not have her by my side made it just so much harder. I had spent many, many years, you know, it kind of affects you in ways that you don't even think about. As I was just saying, I'd spent a lot of years managing her chronic health conditions. She was on daily medications. She had regular vet appointments to manage a bunch of things, and it was like, it was such an ingrained part of my routine, like prioritizing her, making sure she was okay. And I would kind of work that into my own routine. So like in the morning, when I had to give her her medications, I would also take my medications. And after I didn't have to do that anymore, there were days where like I wouldn't be able to really eat, or I'd just forget. I would forget to take my medication just because I didn't have her as that reminder or like that routine. It was something that we did together. And I also was just in such a haze that of like grief that, you know, I was not having hunger cues, and I wasn't remembering things that I'm supposed to do. And so it took a while for me to feel like that was normalized. Actually, it got pretty bad, and so I actually ended up doing some medication changes for depression because it was not good. I was really just like deep in the hole of grief, and sometimes it's normal to feel really sad, but the way that it was impacting me, in terms of like actually turning into like physical symptoms, in terms of like not being able to eat, just like disengaging from life, it seemed like you shouldn't let that go too long, and it wasn't getting better, so we made some changes, and so that helped certainly, but going through the stuff that I went through last year without her was a really hard experience, and I have so much like profound respect now for the emotional absorption that our pets can do sometimes. Like, we really don't realize how hard we are leaning on them, and they are just so loving all the time. You guys, especially those of you who had like been watching me for a while, many of you pointed out in the comments of my videos, like, you guys realized that I looked exhausted. I was not okay. On top of the grief of Eva, I was going through a lot of family stuff. Like, there were a few things happening all at once while I was trying to just like keep my head above the water. My dad, who was living in Tennessee, I had to move him back to New York because his health was declining. He was diagnosed with dementia. It was really bad. He wasn't able to care for himself. And so I had to, with my sibling, go to Tennessee, bring him back to New York so he could be closer to family. And he had no place to live. None of us were capable of taking care of him because his needs were too great. And so we had to find him an assisted living facility. So I was in New York for almost a month, just like living in Airbnbs while trying to work. At the same time, my littlest sister was getting married and I was the maid of honor. So juggling all of that was a hot mess. And a lot of that, not just the maid of honor stuff, because like that's typical, but like a lot of the stuff with my dad fell on me because I'm the eldest. And also, I was able to be in an Airbnb with my dad for a month while we found him a place because I work from home or like remotely. So I was in the best position to do it. And it was really hard. It was very hard to see my dad like that. It was hard to go through the assisted living process. It was really hard while managing the stuff with my sister's wedding as well. But even before that, I went through a really hard period where the stuff with my dad was starting up, and my grandmother, who, let's see, she was 101 at the time, I think. My mom's side of the family lives very long. It's amazing. We have several relatives that have lived over 100 on that side of the family. Just excellent health. It's like the old school, I guess, Italian living. I don't know. But she got COVID for the first time and pneumonia at the same time, and she was in the hospital for like a month and then a rehab for a month. And so while I was going through that, like while grieving, I was a wreck. Like, it was like from multiple sides of my family, shit was just like crashing down. It was really intense. I felt like I was just going through a dark tunnel while trying to come to terms with the fact that my sweetheart Eva was not with me anymore. It's still really hard. But Grandma is okay now. She couldn't walk after having COVID and after being bedridden for like 2 months almost. It's now been, I don't know, 7 months since, and she's walking again with a walker because she's like gonna be 102 now. But she's doing great. She now has a live-in aide because COVID really took a lot out of her, as is the regular aging process. She really shouldn't be living alone at this age. So she's doing great. My dad is in an assisted living facility. He's being looked after very well. We can go visit him anytime we want. I think he's happier. And my sister got married, and it was wonderful, and that was awesome because it felt like that was like, you know, one really happy event in the midst of just like chaos and darkness. And yeah, I was exhausted for months. I just felt like a robot. And I had gone through hard stuff before, but like I said, like having Eva by my side, just, you know, to like cuddle or have her distract me or meow at me, or like just seeing her being like happy sleeping or something, like it just, I don't know, it just lifted it. I can't really explain how her not really doing anything was so helpful to me, but like her just being her special self was so helpful. It just seemed like things were going to be okay as long as I could be with her. And after she passed, it was incredibly lonely. But in terms of how I kind of got out of that, like I increased therapy, I made changes to my medication. All of that was really helpful. I also went to pet support groups. There's a wonderful organization called Lap of Love who actually did Eva's at-home euthanasia or euthanization. And they have free online support groups to anybody. You don't even have to have used their services. Like you can just sign up for a virtual support group online. And that was so helpful, just to hear everybody's stories. And it made me really grateful because I had almost 20 years with Eva. And while that doesn't seem like nearly enough, there were people in that group who like had lost kittens, and it made me really grateful for my experience. And, you know, to know that Eva had lived a really long and full life, and I believe she was truly happy. And we had a lot of special moments together. So anyway, I also you know, like I have the shrine, which I'm going to show you guys one day. I have the shrine of her, which also helped, just having like a photo album of all her pictures, or like most of them. There's like hundreds of pictures. Pictures of us. I have a journal that I write in from time to time whenever I have a dream about her, or I want to just like communicate with her. Some people in the support group say that they do pet psychics. I have definitely thought about it. I'm not like really into that, but I don't know. I mean, why not? Some people say that it's incredibly accurate. So maybe if I can find somebody who has like really good word of mouth reviews, maybe I'll try it. I don't know. Have you guys ever tried that? I do believe that Eva does communicate with me through dreams, or like just through, it's been a while since I've gotten a sign, but I used to just kind of see her out of the corner of my eye every now and then, and just like really special stuff like that. So yeah, I'm doing better. It's still really hard, as you can see. Her 1 year anniversary of her being gone was really difficult, but I did some writing. And yeah, so we're getting through it. And I've been thankful to have Spidey and the cockroaches, I guess, to kind of like, I don't know, just looking at her makes me feel happy. Anyway, guys, so yeah, if you've said kind words over the last year or expressed concern for me on my videos, I really appreciate it. Some of you guys are just incredibly perceptive, and you guys can see right through it, right? I was trying so hard to just put out videos and put on the face, and some of you were just like, you look so tired, and you were correct. So anyway, I'll see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday, where I will actually be talking about tarantulas. But I wanted to share my journey through the last year in the jealous cat, because a lot of you loved her too. and she was a very special and welcome voice and presence on the channel, and I miss her a lot. Anyway, I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.